So today we're talking about weight loss myths, and they are in abundance online. And I could talk about this all day. I love these weight loss myths because they are just so fascinating, and there's so much research behind them. And so we're going to get right into it. So there are two weight loss myths that we're going to address today. And the first one is the idea that carbohydrate make us fat. So, to put this in perspective, there are currently two theories about why we gain weight. And from an academic perspective, it is so surprising to me that there are still two of them because one of them was completely discredited in 2015 and 2016 when a group at the NIH led by Kevin Hall performed some controlled metabolic ward trials. And yet, this narrative still remains. So, what are these two theories? The first theory is called the calorie balance model. And the calorie balance model is that old adage of eat less, move more. And is it more complicated than that? Absolutely. There's so much that goes into hunger and how the foods that we choose can really impact how many calories we need to eat to feel full. And the second model is called the carbohydrate insulin model. And if you've heard from any of the ketogenic diet proponents, then you've heard this narrative that carbohydrates make us fat and that the only way to lose weight is to lower our insulin levels. And it's crazy because these diet books are still, number one. They're in the top 10 on Amazon. And yet, this carbohydrate insulin model, the idea that we need to lower insulin to lose weight, it was completely disproven in 2015 and 2016 in really tightly controlled human studies. So, what did those studies actually look like? Well, Kevin Hall and his team at the NIH, what they did is they took people and they put them on calorie restricted diets. And those two diets had the same amount of calories, and instead they just varied by the amount of fat. So one group ate a very controlled calorie restricted diet that was low in fat, and one group ate a high fat ketogenic dietary pattern. And because both groups ate the same amount of calories, they both lost weight. And so while we were able to document lower insulin levels on that ketogenic dietary pattern, they didn't actually lose any more weight because it all comes down to calories. And so what I want us to hear is that it does not matter what dietary pattern we choose when it comes to weight loss, because diets only work if we're eating less calories than we're eating right now. But that's not the same story when it comes to health, because when we look at the foods that we're eating, the types of foods that we eat affect other markers like saturated fat and cholesterol, or processed foods and our high sensitivity CRP, which is our level of systemic inflammation. And so, what I want us to hear is that we don't need to lower insulin levels to lose weight. That is a myth. The carbohydrate insulin model, it's kind of a joke from an academic's perspective because it just doesn't work when we do controlled metabolic trials on humans. And we'll talk more about that in the future. Now, the second myth that we need to talk about here is that we just need to eat less food to lose weight. So many of these dietary programs and these weight loss, the Jenny Craig, the Weight Watchers, so many of these programs focus on not changing the foods that we're eating and just having us eat less food. I want to say that if we could do that, we would, because most of us are eating intuitively. We eat until we're comfortably full. And so if we don't change the foods that we're eating and we expect to feel full, it's not going to happen, right? If I could eat less of the same foods that I'm eating right now and maintain that, then wouldn't I already be doing that? And that's where adding lower calorie density foods really does play a role, because if we go through this whole program and we don't change the actual foods that we're eating, we think that we can eat exactly the same foods and just less of it, then we are going to be trapped in that yo-yo dieting cycle. So trust me, our portion sizes are going to get bigger. We are going to have more food on our plate than we likely had coming into that. And that is because we are adding more lower calorie density foods. All right. So hopefully that helps. Those are two really common weight loss myths. If you have questions about it, reach out to me and I would love to chat with you more about it. All right. Talk to you soon.